Dating back to the first episode of this arc up to now, I believe that I have made it painfully obvious what the absence of my father has allowed in my life. But in case you're not aware, let me give you a rundown. One, a stepfather who used me as a pawn to control my mother. Two, an uncle that at every turn tried to break me with his words and actions. Three, a grandfather that tried to suppress my feelings and questions by disassociating them and saying that men don't do that. And four, last but certainly not least, a mother who tried to smooth it all over by giving me every drop of love that she deemed should cover those men's fault. All while not realizing that type of love was actually hurting me. You see, every wound that I've described in this arc, from the silence to the distorted love model, the role I was cast in, the generational cycle, every single one of those words trace back to one empty chair. An empty chair that was supposed to be filled by a man that was gifted the opportunity to introduce me to my own identity, but instead introduced me to one question that had haunted me before waking up for year after year. And that question is, am I worth it? Now, that's my story. That is my story. And I pray over every episode that we've completed in this family root arc that my story has helped you or led you to attempt at discovering your own. And I pray for that because on tonight, we are officially closing this chapter. That's right. The family roots arc is officially closing. And we closing not with more examination of any wounds, but with the truth about what happens when you decide the label they gave you is not the life that you're going to live. You see, this episode is called How I Went from the Black Sheep of the Family to the GOAT of My Own. And one thing I can promise you, one thing I will promise you, because I don't make many promises, is that before this is over, I'm going to show you how to go from the black sheep of the family to the GOAT of your own. Hello, and welcome to another episode of This Could Get Ugly. Of course, I am your host, Mr. Shaun D. Upshaw, and as usual, I appreciate you for joining me on tonight. Although it's a lot going on, you chose to be here with me, and I am very, very appreciative, extremely appreciative of you taking the time out to come visit me over here as we close the chapter on the Family Roots arc. And we close it with hopes that it has helped you, it has blessed you, and it has opened your eyes to some new things concerning you and what your family or the root of your family has done to you. As discussed, tonight's topic is how I went from the black sheep of the family to the GOAT of my own. I plan to not only give you my story, but give you an understanding of what the black sheep is. And not only that, help you to realize that you have a decision on, or a decision of not being that black sheep any further. And it's very, very important that you choose the right path, because this could drastically affect your life positively or negatively. The choice is definitely yours. I want you to understand that the choice is yours. So I want to thank you for showing up on Wednesday. I put out last week that this is our new day. From now on, going forward, we are on every Wednesday, unless I tell you otherwise, at 7:30, 7:35 really, Central Standard Time, 8:30, 8:35 Eastern Standard Time. So I will always blast that, not only here, but on the social media pages, um, to let you know what's going on, and you catch up on old episodes by going over to YouTube. We ask that you subscribe, to the channel for clarity. We ask that you go to the Facebook page, like, and respond to, some of the messages that we put over there. We just want you to keep up with everything that's going on over here, because we are all about transformation. We're all about growth. And that's what we're going to stick. That's what we're going to stand on. I mean, 10 toes down. That's what we're going to stand on. We are trying to make better human beings out here. That's what we are trying to do over here at This Could Get Ugly. So let's jump into this. So a lot of people don't know or understand what the black sheep actually is. So what is the black sheep? Before I give you my story or my opinion on what the black sheep is, I always have to start you off with some framework, right? The black sheep, in my opinion, is not, I repeat, the broken member of the family. The black sheep is always the one person who actually chooses not to perform the family's preferred fiction, right? Every family, as I spoke to you and have been speaking to you throughout this series, has a narrative that it protects, a version of itself it needs to maintain. And that narrative requires everyone to play a specific role, and they need to play it without question. They need to play it without question. We talked about in episode 3, I believe, that the golden child performs the family pride. The peacekeeper performs the family's harmony. The invisible, Jesus, tongue twister there, performs the family comfort by simply disappearing. But we did speak on the black sheep briefly, but I told you we were going to save it because we were saving it for this specific show, right? Because the black sheep is the one who questioned things that weren't supposed to be questioned. The one who pushed back against authority that wasn't earning its authority. The one who was bold enough or wounded enough to say out loud what everyone has agreed to keep quiet. And you know what happens? Because the family systems are self-protecting, the system did what any other system does when they feel threatened. It identified you or myself as the source of disruption, and it made that person the problem. That's basically what happened. Not because they were the actual problem, but because they were the most visible threat to the story or the narrative that the family needed to tell about itself. I can wrap that up simply by saying none of this is your fault. None of this is your fault. I will continue to say that throughout the show. So let me tell you how this assignment actually happens, how the black sheep is assigned to you, or, how you just naturally take it on. It starts with just what it is, a label. Simple labels. I mean, of course, in my family, it's different labels, but I'm going to give you the generic labels. Troublemaker, difficult, too much, too sensitive, too bold. But this one was used specifically for me. He has a terrible attitude. Okay. But here's the insidious part. The label becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once a child is identified as the problem, every behavior gets filtered through that specific lens. The child who asks hard questions, they're not considered curious, right? They're considered difficult. The child who pushes against unfairness, it's not considered critical thinking. No. They are the one that's labeled the one with the attitude. The child who expresses themselves boldly wouldn't dare be viewed as confident. No, they are the actual troublemaker. And eventually 2 things happen once everything goes down this way. Either the child internalizes the label and becomes it. My hand is raised. Or the child fights a label their entire life, carrying the exhausting weight of trying to prove whoever started this nonsense wrong, or whoever appears like they agree with what the family started, trying to prove them wrong. And trust me, it is exhausting. Although I raised my hand for the first one, I definitely had some bouts with the second one as well. So let me tell you what it installs. When you repeatedly identified as the source of dysfunction in your family, your system accepts it as a core belief. That belief is, I am inherently too much, not enough, or fundamentally flawed. Those are the three options that you give yourself. And to be quite honest, I've been talking to a lot of people who deal with these issues, and I want you to know that those three options are bogus. We can take them off the table, and we can take them off the table starting tonight, right? Because although that stuff started in your home and it followed you into every room that you walked in, into every friendship that you mustered or created, or it mustered up or created, into every career that you've taken advantage of, or any romantic relationship, that you do have the option to take those options off the table. Because if you continue down that road, I'm going to tell you what happens. Self-sabotage, a very familiar term with those who are labeling themselves or have accepted the label of black sheep. Self-sabotage is when things are going well. For those who don't know, when things are going well, something in you, in here, well, more in here than here, because down up here sends the message down here that sends you a signal to get uncomfortable. And why you get uncomfortable is because success doesn't match the story that you were handed growing up. So that's how it becomes easily acceptable to get uncomfortable. What happens is it shows up as an inability to receive love without suspicion. Because in your very first experience of love, it came with conditions, it came with comparisons, and it definitely came with labels. So when someone loves you freely, I experienced this. When someone loves you freely, your system, for some strange reason, don't trust it. Although this person has proved to you time and time again that they are not here to do anything remotely close to what your family or other people have done to you, they're still not trusted. Because in your eyes, that's not what love looked like in the house that you grew up in. It's not what love looked like in the rooms that you've carried it in since stepping foot out of that home, too. So I want you to think about that as we jump into my story, right? I want you to know this particular story. This is not theory. I actually live this, and I feel comfortable telling you this because I'm a person that believes you have to be an example, and you have to show people that when you do what you're supposed to do, the reward on the other side is, remember I told you, it's not healed. It's a decision to heal or be healing every day. And that's, or having the willingness. That's the right word I want to use. Having the willingness to decide to heal every day. You get that option. That's on the other side. Remember I told you at the top of the episode about my father in that empty chair. My father's absence, basically, and the question that it left me concerning my identity. Now, let me tell you what was built on top of that particular foundation more in depth. For some strange reason, I was always the one that got singled out. It didn't matter if it started, whoever started it, I was to blame. I was the troublemaker by default, by reputation, by family consensus. I was the one told, not once, not out of frustration in the heated moment, but repeatedly and deliberately, that I wasn't going to make it. I wasn't going to be anything in life. Of course, by my uncle, which I displayed in the last episode, in the church basement, which I displayed in the last episode, but also by my grandfather, the patriarch of the family, the one, I can laugh about now, who called me a sissy for trying to express myself, not only with a question, but just, pure feelings about a certain situation. Um, and my questioning, my refusal to just accept things that didn't make sense to me, my boldness in saying what I saw and how I really feel like parts of my family was dysfunctional or wasn't right. It wasn't respected as a strength. It was actually respected as a person that's a troublemaker that just wants to start things, that just wants to just always be in the middle, stirring up the pot. And it forces people to look at me in a way where I never really got a chance to prove myself. I mean, I would like to assume now that we're a little older and people see the method behind my madness, that I can get respect, for being that way. But even if I don't, I mean, I don't care. I'm comfortable in who I am now. I'm comfortable in what I was doing then. And hell, I'm comfortable in what I do now. I feel like the people who are in my life now, and you can gain this same feeling once you gain the identity, the true identity, who you are, they're going to love you. And the people who don't love you, so what? That's their problem. It's not yours no longer. So yeah, the very thing that would later become one of my greatest assets, the ability to see clearly and speak directly, was the exact thing that got me cast out of the family back in the day, or a specific family, not all my family. I don't, when my family, all of my family listen to this, I don't want you to think that it was you. The people who know what they did back then, they know. And although I called out my uncle last week, like I told you, I'm not ashamed of my devils. I called him out, but he was one of the main ones. He was one of the main ones. But luckily, we passed his family roots arc, so you probably won't hear his name again this time. Like I said, this is going to be one of my most personal episodes thus far, and I'm glad it's early because I honestly want to go into deeper levels with you guys. I mean, of course, using me as an example. I don't mind sharing my story with anyone. I don't mind sharing, the mental strain that it put on me. I don't mind sharing where I am mentally now and how I crossed over to where I am now. So that's why I do this. But I'm glad we're getting it out early because I want you to understand that the roots of your family are deep. They're deep. And if you don't have the tools to dig deep and address them, you're going to look up one day and you're going to be old, bitter, and you're going to be blaming everybody. You're going to be the victim in every story. And that's not how life's supposed to be. It's not how life's supposed to be. So we got to change that. We got to change that. So I believe that I became the black sheep not because I was broken. Now that I'm a little older, I believe that I was chosen to be the black sheep. Chosen for what specific reason? I mean, I can lay out a vast amount of reasons. Maybe God wanted to show me my strength. Maybe he wanted to show me that I didn't need specific men in my life to raise me that would normally be put in little boys' lives to raise them. Maybe he wanted to show me that he was the only source that I needed. He was the only father that I needed. Maybe he wanted to show me that these men that were tasked to raise me are filled with faults, just like anybody else. So I shouldn't put them on a pedestal. Maybe he wanted to say, take what they give you to grow, throw out what's not going to make you grow. Maybe he wanted me to see them flawed. Who knows? Either way, I was chosen. I believe that. And I was chosen because I'm special. Nah, seriously. I'm gonna run with those reasons because in my eyes, as I take a look over everybody that I'm associated with, as far as cousins and brothers and whatever the case may be, I can't understand for the life of me what they saw in me that would make them do the things that they did to me as a youngster trying to develop into a man, a young man into a man. In my eyes, I would think that you would want to go the opposite way and try to feed them positive things so you can, like I said, grow up and contribute to society. As I was telling you what I want my daughter to do when she grows up. But for some strange reason, it was the total opposite. And if we're being quite frank here, now that I think about it, I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? You have to almost believe that there are instances where your family see things in you as a young person that they're jealous of, that they want, but it didn't come naturally to them, but it comes naturally to you. At some point, you have to start taking stuff like that under advisement and really believe that what I told you earlier, none of this is your fault. None of this is your fault. None of this is your fault. I'm going to keep saying that until you get it in your head, because we are at the stage where we have to move forward. Term I always use, something I created in the library of life. The victim book stays checked out. You know why? Because reading that book, signing up to check that book out is easy. I can always tell you, oh, that person did me wrong. This is how they made me feel. But it's tough to accept things, analyze them, move forward, realize what's your fault, what's not your fault, and continue to grow, continue to develop. It's hard to do that. But that's what I want to encourage you on tonight, to do it. Because this black sheep routine, that shit is old now. We got to be what we're destined to be. We have to choose our purpose over victimhood. We got to choose our purpose over opinions. We got to choose our purpose over our negative mindsets. Our purpose is much bigger than what we give it credit for. And we have to step into that now, right now. I carried this with me, this black sheep mentality. I carried it with me, right? I carried it into rooms that I obviously was supposed to own. I carried it into relationships that I definitely should have trusted. Now, I'm one of the lucky guys. They say that you only meet great women or your greatest love like once or twice. I'm going to be honest with you. I've had the opportunity to meet some great, wonderful women in my life, and I just ruined it. All of them, for the most part, due to the fact this is pre-woke Shaun that I'm speaking of. I ruined all of it due to the fact that I wanted to hold on to this mentality more than I wanted to hold on to that specific relationship. And I just did exactly what I told you earlier. I just self-sabotage, just to see how long this person would stick around and stay. Terrible. Terrible. So if you're unaware, let me tell you how the black sheep does show up in relationships. I want to explain this thoroughly. I want to tell you how it transfers, right? What happens is you chase validation from your partner if you're not careful. You chase validation from your partner the same way you chased it from your family. Underneath what looks like caring deeply is a need for them to confirm that you are worthy. But guess what? The verdict of your family handed down was wrong, and here's the problem. It's not your partner's job to make you believe that. And asking your partner to fix what your family has broken is one of the fastest ways to destroy something good. Trust me, I know. I've done it. I'm sure a lot of you have done it, whether you want to admit it or not. It's a wonderful thing to admit because it exposes what you've been ruining up to this point. The blessings that God has been giving you, the blessings, hell, that life has been giving you, due to the fact that life understands that you're a great person inside. One thing I will tell you about life is if nobody else knows your intentions, God in life does. But you can't accept the reward if you're always in a position where you either think you're the victim or you think you're the black sheep or you allow your family words to just continue to drag you in the mud. You're not going to be able to accept it. Let's go to transfer two. What happens in the relationship? You attract or you tolerate people who do what? Reinforce the label. You attract or tolerate people who reinforce the label. I want you to think about that for a second. Let me explain something to you. When unworthiness is your baseline, when being the problem is what home feels like, you will unconsciously gravitate towards people and dynamics that do nothing but confirm it. The partner who criticizes you constantly feels familiar. The relationship where you're the one always apologizing feels normal. You don't choose these dynamics because you're weak. No, that's not what happens, right? You choose them because your nervous system recognizes them the most. Because let me tell you, familiar, even when it's destroying you, it registers as safe. Seriously. Familiar, even when it's destroying you, registers as safe. Diabolical. Transfer three, you self-sabotage, when things are going well. I just told you I did this. I'm sure a lot of you do this. Don't even recognize that you're doing it because it just comes so natural. What happens is you find someone good, find someone great, someone different from what you used to, someone who actually sees you, and something in you gets uncomfortable because this doesn't match the story. And rather than let the story be wrong, rather than sit in the discomfort of being loved well, you find a way to burn it down. How you burn it down? Pick a fight that's unnecessary. Pull away, when things are getting close. Find a reason, whatever that reason is, why it won't work before it's given a chance to prove that it will. Because unconsciously, destruction feels more honest than abundance. Unconsciously, destruction feels more honest than abundance. Why I feel that way? Because you were trained to believe abundance wasn't yours. But I'm here to tell you tonight that abundance is yours if you choose and decide that you want it. Transfer 4, you struggle to trust love without conditions. See, one thing I've learned is growing up in my house, and I'm sure growing up in your house, if you've been involved in one of these type of situations that I'm talking about, love had conditions, or it appeared that it had conditions, right? What were some of those conditions? Well, easy. You perform well, you get love. You fuck up, you don't. That's the simplicity of it. So when you find someone that loves you freely, right? Without a scoreboard, without conditions, your system doesn't know what to do with it. Your system doesn't know what to do with it. So what you do, you test it, you question it, you wait for the catch, the aha moments. I was waiting on you to mess up so I can say, aha, I got you. Crazy. You keep people at arm length. You ain't even trying to let them get inside your circle. And your partner experienced this as coldness, when in reality, it's not coldness. The truth is, deep down inside, you want to show up completely. Sad part is you just don't know how to fully believe yet that you're allowed to. That's as real as it gets. So, as always, in any show that I give you problems, I'm going to give you solutions. So there is a turning point, right? There is a way direction, to go in where you can go the opposite way of this and experience something different. So the question I'm sure you're asking is, how do I get out? How do I take this label that was handed to me before I knew the vocabulary to reject it and decide that it ends with me? I can only tell you how I did it. That's the best thing I can do. I can only tell you how I did it. And for me, it wasn't therapy, although I stand by therapy. I stand by it 10 toes down. It wasn't therapy. It wasn't a book, or it wasn't even a podcast, or hell, even a moment of clarity. In all actuality, it was my daughter. My daughter was my turning point. The moment she was born, when the doctor placed her in my arms in that hospital room, I'll never forget it. Something shifted in me. Because looking in her eyes, it was already starting here, but it had to get up here. That was the problem with me. I knew what this was. I knew what the heart was. I needed to figure out how to transition it up from the heart to the mind. Like I said, something shifted in me, and I really don't even have the words to explain it. I just know it was quick because I looked at her and I understood something at a cellular level, right? That I had never fully understood before. And that thing was, this little person that was in my arms, that had tears coming down my eyes the moment I laid eyes on her, was going to learn who she was in large part from watching me. You talk about some scary shit. There's no other way to put that. Scary. She was going to learn in large part who she was by watching me. So I knew that. And I had a choice in that moment that my parents either didn't know they had or didn't take. And that choice was, I could not pass any of this forward. I couldn't pass it forward. But what I could do was put it down. And I chose to put it down. I chose to put it down. Now, let me tell you something. Those who know me, they know how I feel about my daughter. I really believe that if I never had put that mess down, that something wouldn't happen for me. There are two instances in life where I believe my daughter really began to trust me. One was more recently, one was maybe 3 years ago. I mean, of course, I believe she trusted me at a father-daughter level. But I believe these two examples that I'm about to give you is what took it over the edge and made her realize that daddy's going to be there regardless of whatever the circumstances may be. When me and her mother got a divorce, I was the one to drive them to their location in Florida. Yeah, no problem. So we packed them up in a U-Haul, although I was crying like a baby because I was losing my baby. But I packed them up in a U-Haul. We drove to Florida. The problem with that, outside of losing my daughter, I'm not losing my daughter, but I'm losing the everyday access to her at that time. The problem in that is I didn't know that it was a hurricane coming through Florida that specific weekend. I didn't learn it until I got on the road. So basically, we were playing hide go seek with a damn hurricane. And keep in mind, I'm driving a U-Haul with 2 trailers attached to it. And it was just a crazy experience. Anyway, to make a long story short, we going through this hurricane. I mean, it's raining. You barely can see, but I'm driving through it. And my daughter looked over at me and she said, "Dad, don't you want to pull over? Can you see?" And I don't know, like, in reality, I mean, hell no, I couldn't see. I'm driving through a hurricane. It's rain everywhere. Like, this is crazy. And to be honest, I ain't gonna say I'm scared. I was very, very anxious. But I didn't let her know that. I didn't tell her that. She just seen me push through. And when we finally reached our destination, I can sense how proud of me she was. I'm trying to remember if she said she was proud of me. I don't remember, but I I think I heard the word superhero go around the room. Whatever the case would be, I knew she was proud of me. That right there, that sense of her viewing me in that manner made putting down all that crap before she was born worth it. But here's the story that I'm about to tell you that really, really made it worth it. Really made me believe that my daughter fully 100% trusts me from this day going forward. This happened probably about a month or two ago. She went to a skating party, a lock-in for her choir. My daughter out there skating, obviously falls, messes her ankle up real bad. I get a call. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I go up there. Of course, I'm pissed. It's 1:30 in the morning. I'm asleep, but it's my daughter. Go up there. She's sitting down, barely can walk. I'm like, this girl can only hop on one leg. What are you going to do, Shaun? I told her, get on my back, London. She said, no, Dad, no, I don't want to fall. I looked at her. I said, get on my back, London. Now, my daughter is every bit of 5'4", 5'5", and she's solid as a tank. Like, people in our family are athletic. She has that athletic build. Like, she's solid. So she trusted my word. She got on my back. I carried her to the car, put her in there. We went home. And I don't know what she was thinking, but I can tell she was shocked that I was able to do that. And then we got in the apartment. We come up the elevator, and it's this long hallway leading to my apartment. Same instance. She can't walk. I told her, get on my back, London. This time she didn't hesitate. She jumped on my back, and I carried that girl door after door until we reached our apartment. And when I finally got her in the house and I sat her down, I saw the look in her eyes. And I said, it was all worth it putting that mess down. Now, I tell you those two stories because my daughter is one of the most important things to me. So for me to make her that proud, or for me to gain 100% of her trust, made it all worth it. You have to find what makes it all worth it for you. That's why I gave you that story. You have to find it. You have to discover what makes it all worth it for you to put it down. So I want you to know that although I was imperfect, I was perfect enough to make that decision to put it down. And so are you. So let me tell you what you need to do in order to shift from carrying that to putting it down. First thing you need to do is separate the label from your identity. You see, the label was assigned by people who were protecting the system. We know this. We've been talking about this episode after episode. It wasn't describing the truth. You see, your boldness during that time, it wasn't an attitude. I want you to know that. It was clarity that those people just couldn't handle. Your questions weren't defiance. It was just intelligence they didn't know how to meet. Your refusal to fall in line wasn't dysfunction. No, it was integrity in a system that required you to abandon yours. The label was never about you. It was about what you represented to a family that needed someone to carry its dysfunction visibly so everyone else could maintain their performance. Now, see, when you understand that, I mean, really, really fully understand that, not just intellectually, but in your body, guess what happens? The label loses its authority. What's the second thing you need to do to shift? Reinterpret your history as preparation, not punishment. Everything you survived in that family, the exclusion, the comparison, the dismissal, the being told you will never amount to anything, guess what it didn't do? It didn't break you. It built a specific kind of resilience that people who were comfortable their whole lives simply do not have. You know how to stand alone now. That's important. You know how to hold your position when everyone around you is saying you're wrong. That's important. You know how to keep moving when you're not being cheered on. That's important. Those are not small things, ladies and gentlemen. Your history isn't a wound to be ashamed of. It's evidence of what you are made of. What's funny about this is I literally, and I mean literally, just told someone this an hour ago. Now I'm telling you. She had to understand it. Now you have to understand it. Reinterpret your history, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to 3. What shifts it? The greatest thing, choice. Choose your own verdict. At some point, you have to stop appealing to the family's verdict and issue your own. You have to stop waiting for people who labeled you to revise their opinion of you. You need to stop building your life as an argument against what they said. Stop measuring your success by whether they finally acknowledge it. Because here's the hard truth. Some of them never will. In fact, some of them don't even know how to. Because clearly and honestly, if your GOAT status depends on their recognition, you've handed them authority over your life that they forfeited the moment they told you that you would never amount to anything, or even thought that you would never amount to anything. This is why you have to issue your own verdict. Decide who you are, and then build a life as the evidence. Let me repeat that. Issue your own verdict, decide who you are, and then build a life as the evidence. The reason you want to do that is because as life goes on, and I'm going back to relationships here, right? Because, of course, you know this show is centered around relationships, family dynamics, and personal development, all 3. The reason you want to issue your own verdict is because before you say I do, you need to be in position. You need to be in position to really mean the term I do. So this should prepare you for that, right? I believe that we covered a lot of ground in this entire arc, episodes 1 through 5. We started, think about this, from episode 1, we started examining the voice that was taken from you as a child and how that silence followed you into every relationship you ever had. Then we moved into episode 2, where we looked at how love was modeled in your house and how that model became the unconscious standard you've been measuring every partner against unconsciously. In episode 3, we examined the role you were assigned in your family system and how you've been performing that role in your relationships without even realizing it. Episode 4, we went deep into generational trauma, not the bull crap they give you online, but what I believe is actually the generational trauma, what it actually means, how it travels, and why you telling yourself, in spite of all that BS you went through, you turned out fine is the most expensive lie that you could ever tell yourself. Because guess what? Your ass is not fine. And now we are here tonight where we talked about the most targeted wound of them all, being told by your own family that you are or were the problem. Here's what I need you to understand as we close this arc on tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Everything we talked about, every pattern, every wound, every inherited behavior is sitting in your relationship right now, whether you realize it or not, or a past one if you're not in a relationship. The only question here going forward is whether you're going to examine it or keep letting it run silently in the background on autopilot. I'm just the messenger, y'all. So before we move into the next arc next week, before we close this chapter, you have to know that I have some challenges for you. In fact, I have 3 challenges. Not suggestions, challenges. Because here's the thing, you spent 5 episodes gaining awareness. At least I hope you've been gaining awareness. I've been trying my best to give you awareness. Well, like I said, you've been spending the last 5 episodes gaining awareness. And awareness, my famous term that I used in episode 2, I believe 2 or 3, awareness without action is just sophisticated self-pity. Guess what? It's time to move. It's time to move. So let's jump into these challenges of what I want you to do. I hope you're writing these down and I hope you're performing these challenges. Challenge 1, identify your family label. What did your family decide you were? I want you to write that down. 1 sentence. The label your family assigned you. Then underneath it, write the truth. Not the rebuttal, not the argument, the actual truth of who you are beneath what they decided. It's in that gap between those sentences that you will find the truth in the work. Don't believe me? All you got to do is just start the challenge, right? What's the worst that can happen? Challenge 2, trace one relationship pattern back to its family origin. Take one reoccurring pattern in your romantic relationships. One thing that keeps showing up no matter what. One argument you keep having and trace it back. Where did you learn this behavior? Where did you first see that dynamic model? Whose voice does it sound like when it shows up in your head? These are some legitimate questions that you need to ask yourself. And keep in mind, you don't have to solve it tonight. This is going to be an ongoing thing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, going forward. Maybe even 365 days out of the year. All of them. Just being real. But you have to name the origin. Because a pattern you can't trace is a pattern you can't break. Challenge 3. Answer the question you've been avoiding. Before you commit to another person, before you say I do, before you say I'll be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, or your wife, before you bring another person fully into your life, I don't care if it's platonically, romantically, whatever it is, I want you to answer the question you've been avoiding. Why? Because you owe them and you owe yourself an honest answer to one question. What am I still carrying from my house or my past? And have I done enough work on it to make it their problem? Not am I perfect, not am I completely healed, but am I aware enough, accountable enough, and committed enough to work? Because here's the thing, bringing a partner into a conscious relationship and not recognizing the unconscious pattern that you have been utilizing to ruin every past relationship is a bad move. It's a bad move. Let's break this pattern, ladies and gentlemen. Let's break this pattern. As we come to a close, I'm not going to do the normal close that I would do because I written down the close. I'm just going to give this to you nice, short, and sweet, right? As we close this family arc on tonight, one, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you for listening to this. I mean, some people might consider this as some BS because, let's be honest, they don't want to heal. They don't care to heal. They just want to hear me get on this mic and say something that's going to ruffle some feathers. That's not what this podcast is all about. I used to be that person that get on here and say some things that ruffle some feathers, but I decided that my purpose is more important than ruffling some feathers. My purpose is to actually help or aid whoever needs it. If you're tired of being stuck, I'm here. If you're tired of going through the same patterns, I'm here. If you're tired of not being able to connect to the right people, I'm here. And I'm here not only through this show, but I'm here through social media. I'm here through a phone call. I'm here through an email. I'm here. All you got to do is just reach out. We'll have a conversation. We'll get some clarity. And I'll let you know. I'm honest enough. I'm not one of these guys or coaches or whatever that say, oh, yeah, I can help you. No, I'm a strategist. You tell me the problem, and if I can help, let's strategize. Let's get this together. Let's do it together. Let's move forward. Let's jump into being the human being that I know you're capable of, because if my ass can become the person that I didn't even think I was capable of, then I'm very confident in knowing that you can do it. Now, I want you to know that in Arc 1, I introduced a system or a framework that I believe is the best way to connect in dating. Now, if you listen to that arc and you still didn't understand how, that's why I introduced Arc 2. Because see, Arc 2 is giving you an example of what might be standing in your way of understanding why I gave you the system on how to connect properly in dating. Why are you saying that, Shaun? Because in Arc 3, starting next week, we're going to debunk a lot of BS that you've picked up along the way. Because I want to get you prepared, not only to deal with life, but to be ready for that special someone. Because they out there. Or rekindle what you already have. I'm not opposed to that either. I'm just all for love. I'm all for growth. I'm all for transformation. That's exactly what This Could Get Ugly is all about. It's about that. It's about getting you to understand that the purpose is more important than anything. You're walking this earth with a purpose. You might as well discover it. You might as well utilize it. You might as well help people. I'm just contributing my part. So as I get ready to close, I ask that you go over to the YouTube page. That is www.youtube.com/@TCGU_podcast. Subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Catch up on all the episodes. Like, comment, reach out, do whatever you need to do. Just know that I'm here. As always, I appreciate you for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Have a great one.